said, so I appreciate having the data and knowing where, you know, where we have the basis for making the recommendation.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments on the cost of quality committee report? Ross?
Perhaps a newbie question. So is this kind of analysis done annually to kind of reflect changes in costs and adjust rates, or is this every couple of years, or is this first time? Just a little context would be helpful.
Good question.
I'd like to do it every 5 years, but what I will say is that the state does their kind of market rate analysis every 2 years. That's all that they can bear. The calculator that, you know, sticking with the Center for American Progress calculator, it would be easy to use the calculator. The question is, how much time do our community providers have to compile that type of list and those values for us of actual costs? And that's really what the challenge is, because it is, they were very meticulous and very careful to make sure that these numbers were correct. They are not going to have the time to provide us with that type of data on a regular basis, particularly with staffing fluctuations. So I wouldn't be able to do this analysis with all new numbers every year. I can be able to tell you what the Center for American Progress has updated to. We could do real world national dollars again, with the Consumer Purchasing Index again for the RAND report, but the applicability of having local preschool plumbers in our footprint that are part of our network provide that data, I think annually is a lot to ask of them to do that, unless we could borrow it if someone else is doing that. If the Children's Funding Project does that, if CCR&Rs decide to do it, anybody else, we could always pull that data and be willing to share it. But I don't think that we'll be able to guarantee that we'll be able to get a change in that data year to year.
For our own internal purposes, I think this is by far and away the most comprehensive we've ever undertaken.
So I understand kind of how we've gotten to 9.5 months and 6 hours a day, because we have, you know, a model in this city that we're partnering with the public institutions. But I do think at some point we need to question if that's research-based, that 9.5 months and 6 hours a day is what quality preschool is. You know, that seems like even in K-12 a bit of a, you know, outdated schedule and model that I think comes with a lot of then learning loss and gaps that we face over the summer. And so at some point I just think that we need to answer this question of what is the actual hourly and monthly school year that is the highest quality and effectiveness for our children versus just matching what our public system is doing.
Totally agree. Great comment. Anything else for cost of quality? All right, we'll move to communications. Shar, are you able to give that report? We don't have Terry here today.
I am, and I've asked Laura to kind of tag team with me. Great meeting again. Communications committee is working hard. Really the focus is it's enrollment time, and we wanted to share kind of some new initiatives that were recommended by the committee that we did. Rather than setting up kind of static tables to do outreach, we've hired leafleting teams. Thank you again, Brain Trail, Ms. Malone Crow, that go out along parade routes so that we have active dynamic distribution with people wearing the Ask Me About Preschool Promise shirt. You can see someone at the, what event was that? But
I want to say,
was it the Taste?
No, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, right? So every event, you will see someone out distributing, not standing still, but reaching out into the community. And something new that we tried again this year is bus shelters that have been very popular. So as you're riding Metro, you'll not only see it wrapped on the bus, but you'll see it on the bus shelter. And our focus is really to reach new population at enrollment time, to tell them that Preschool Promise is there for them. And so our communication efforts have really been focused in that way. We have also shared with the Communications Committee the initial draft of our gift acceptance policy and our confidentiality policy for donors, as well as our board giving policy. And if you remember, they were charged with that in combination of identifying the best strategies to honor and process gifts related to Dr. Owen's memory. So we hope that they'll have an opportunity to review that, so that we'll bring it to you in June for a first read. Those are all developed and internal processes with that as well, so we're moving in that direction. We also have our first blog post, related to family literacy that was posted. Thanks again to some urging from the committee and how we can navigate that to get that done. And on Thursday night, we launched our Promise Reader Initiative with Congressman Landsman. Reading a book that's about a hat, but really for me, focused on the tweeting bluebird, right? And the hippo splashing in the tub. So Refined Vision Media again partnered with us to add sound effects to that and do all of those things. So about every 2 weeks, you will see that as our new communication method with Promise Readers. To let the community and the parents know that when they are part of the Preschool Promise family, we consider the whole family and the whole child. So not only the day that you spend in preschool, but supporting family literacy and providing you the resources to do it. So that's kind of where we landed with the comment.
Any questions, Marcia?
So when was the Promise Reader, I'm asking yourself, so when do we see those?
You will, when yours is about to premiere, you will get a very nice email from us with all of our Facebook books so that you can share and promote, because the way that we did is instead of just posting them, it will go live, Facebook Live on a Thursday night with the video as the premiere. And so prior to your premiere, we'll send all those handles to you. And for all of our providers who show out in the community and say they took an active picture with our bus shelter, or they show one of our billboards or our yard signs, they will receive copies of all of the books that the Promise Readers read. So we're really trying to do some connectivity so that they promote it as well. We'll take care of that. We'll get you one.
Anything else? All right, finance and audit, Tony.
Okay. The budget has been shared over the last meeting and has been back and forth at the finance committee a couple of times and the executive committee. Now presented at Cincinnati Public School, and it's time for us to approve it. And this first page helps explain the key points. I think the cost of quality is listed here at the top, the 10% increase. We are also changing the maximum support for the 200 to 250% range, but we're keeping the anticipated budgeted level of students roughly the same as 23. Quality improvement. We had some sort of timing and COVID issues on outdoor spending that has settled out now. So that is really listed because there's a pretty good swing year to year on that number. So that comment there is really just to explain why. We're also doing a better job on our classroom spending with a better alignment there. And with our teacher promise grants. So those two are really improvements, I think, in our management of those two programs. The final point is we are budgeting to be fully staffed, which I think is one of the serious goals of this board, and one that we really are encouraging Chara and her team to get to. We've obviously struggled to find good people and to get them hired. We've suffered the same as every other business in the world to find the right people. We are making progress, and we are budgeting to reach our goal, and that is a big swing from years past. So if you keep this page in mind, and Patrick, can you flip over we've done some nice graphs here, and you can kind of see some of the what some of this looks like in terms of enrollment and in terms of budget enrollment. That top to the left shows we're really trying to match our last year's enrollment. The next couple slides will give you the same kind of feel for how things are allocated. Different segments of where the money goes. But here we see the actual budget itself. We compare it to what we believe our fiscal 23 will end at. And you can see from the top line we have a significant increase in our budgeted tuition assistance. That goes to that first point of raising our level of 10%. It also goes to the increased support for the 200 and 350. You'll see.
And kind of put it in current year dollars, this would be what we'd be looking at, which is $13,556. And that was one of the ways that we were most comfortable looking at this after kind of seeing different ways that others had calculated it and had discussed a recommendation and looking at an increase of about 10%. And this currently, we've gone on 3% a year increases. And the discussion within the committee was that the 3% over the past several years has certainly not kept up with inflation. I think we have 7.7% noted here. I've seen around 8.7%. So it's certainly higher than 3%. And it's certainly been higher than 3% for the last several years. And so in looking at the budget and the numbers that Shara had presented, she felt comfortable that a 10% increase would make a lot of sense, given especially the shortages that we're seeing, the really challenges in terms of workforce, and the current cost of living increases across the board. And so we just spent a lot of time at the committee discussing what we think makes sense, kind of kicking the tires on different ways to look at it, and at the end of the day came up with that really took the recommendation of the staff around 10% because that seemed to make sense given previous formulas that have been used and the context in terms of the greater economic situation that we're in. So I will leave it at that.
And I will say that the staff was, we were excited to share and I think advocate for a lot more. And I think the Cost of Quality Committee kind of said, let's stab at this range and make sure that we're on target with the numbers. And we know that there are a lot of variations in ways this can be calculated. And as Christy said, the first number is if we apply the methodology that we've used at the onset of the organization to current day dollars. The second one is using a methodology and data that was created by several Cost of Quality Committee members to say this is a model of what we see in the community and what we look at. The other is the Center for American Progress that has a dynamic calculator that changes the values every year so that you know the information is current on what they're doing, and you'll see the assumptions and the levers kind of need to customize that, matches with our equity policy and what we saw in others. And then the final is from a random research report, not the original that they did for Preschool Promise, but an update that they did in 2022. We took 2 states that we thought closely matched to us, and thanks to having an amazing finance director who's really good at what he does, to be able to translate those 2019 national level dollars to 2023 dollars so that we have a reasonable cost comparison. And I appreciate you giving the report, Christy, because Sally is, we all know, is enjoying her tour through Europe. So really focusing on the committee to set out their goals to say, let us understand what the true cost of quality is, and really encouraged by the recommendations that we saw from the Step Up to Quality Committee after almost 2 years of work to say, we know this is a real issue that is impacting the industry. And as Preschool Promise says, you know, we always say, how can we be innovative and jump in on the gap, and how do we address that? We know that this is going to be an ongoing process that we look at that. The Finance, Budget, and Growth Committee at CPS really was interested in this data and what we collected and how we did it. But we know that it will be an ongoing process because it was not only that committee is focused on how do we sustain and maintain quality, how do we define it, how do we support the workforce, all of those things that we know we need to do to make sure that it is mission-driven, high-quality preschool education that is in fact affordable and accessible. So this is the report our team kind of put together. We can answer some high-level questions about that or give you the long version. But what we also included is an explanation of general cost modeling from the Children's Funding Project, who we've been working with over the last year, who are partners with almost 50 organizations across the country that are a mix of voter-approved funds and other funding sources, to say this is what's happening in early childhood education. And hopefully the hyperlinks worked for you all if you wanted to see kind of the updated articles and details of the methodology as well.
I have a comment, question. At the executive committee meeting, the report was presented that there be a 10% increase. I made a comment about sustainability of a 10% increase. My comment was that we need to not, it's aspirational, I agree with it, but we need to be sure that people understand that this is one time, that this is a one-time increase. So I had sent an email suggesting that the word one time be included, or that be noted, that this is a one-time increase.
Yeah, and that was certainly conveyed at our presentation to CPS. I'm not sure that one time is necessarily we don't know what we're gonna have to study again into the future. So whether it's one time, two times, three times, 0 times, I'm not sure putting a number of times on it. But I think originally it had said annual, which you were correct to point out was inaccurate because it's not a guarantee that we'll want to do that every year. And I think it'll be something we'll rely on our cost of quality committee and our budget committee to continue to study. But it was certainly the recommendation you made was conveyed in our presentation. So yes.
And I have a question. Excuse me, the cost, is it based on how many hours per day or how many days per year? Is this cost that you're working?
For each of the models, we kind of listed the assumptions where there are variations and adjusted the numbers. So it's on average of 9.5 months or the academic year and a school day. So for some it was 6 hours, some it was 6.5. So it varies. In the calculators where it varied and we could adjust for it, we did. So if you look at the cost of quality committee one, it is for a 12-month year because that's how they operate. And you will see that amount was $18,000. We then took that bi-monthly and adjusted it to get the number you see so that there was some consistency of a 9.5 month in an academic year.
Okay, so you made program.
Yeah, and where we made those adjustments to the numbers, we've listed the assumptions that we have so that you can see the slight variations. Unfortunately, there's never a case where we can do apples to apples.
Okay.
So just for my own clarity, so the models that are presented here are just that, they're just models to kind of bring some sanity or comparison to what was being recommended.
Exactly. And I think it is the cost of quality committee that came together, the providers who helped put us that together were very clear and said, these are not our actual costs, right? This is a model of what we think is happening in the market so that it's translatable to more than just our site. So there were several centers that put it together. We had input from Cincinnati State of what they're seeing in the market for what we did internally for that. What you will see for the other models, particularly the Center for American Progress, those are actual numbers that they did with those particular states that are translated to national dollars. And the Center for American Progress report, the RAND report is the one that's state specific, that's actual dollars. The Center for American Progress is for the state of Ohio, and what they pull in some cases are averages, some numbers they pull Bureau of Labor Statistics, so it is based on hard numbers, but doing a regression analysis so that it is applicable for the entire state, not one per capita. So, and again, for the RAND report, it is state specific, but they translated those state specific dollars to national. But those are actual in 2019 dollars.
So having gone through this exercise, now we kind of have a track to run on, so to speak, in terms of how to figure this out every year or however often.
I think so. I think, this is one way. Like I said, we always hope that there'll be new and innovative ways. Maybe other people will come up with calculators. Maybe we'll find a calculator that fits with our system a little bit better. What we didn't want to do is go into what you'll see kind of in the RAND article that talks about more strategic cost modeling or cost estimate data collection. That would be very challenging to do, and what we also didn't want to do is a market rate analysis similar to what Ohio has chosen to do, because that doesn't reflect cost, that reflects what people are charging in the market. So I do not want to give the impression that these are the only 5 ways to do it. This is where we're starting, but we are committed to, when we know better, do that. If there comes up with an innovative way for us to do this easy, we are more than willing to adopt and do that. And if anybody comes up with it, we're more than willing to take that recommendation. But for now, these are the things that we felt, and working with the committee that is a combination of not only providers, instructors, community members, our full range of providers, and our good partners at 4C as well as Head Start, that they thought this was a good set of countermeasures to take.
And I would just add too that, for those who might say that, have questions about the 10%, I mean, if you look at the CPP year 1 modeling, like the model that we were looking at was actually the lower end of many of the others that we were looking at nationally, and it still is not going to actually get us to that number. So we were low to begin with, I think, is sort of the headline there, and so we're trying to catch up.
Like, I had one other comment. I appreciate the data and the way it's presented. We didn't, I made a comment at the executive committee saying that I would be more comfortable having data as opposed to opinion, which in 2019, and later won re-election for a 2-year term. She served on the Policy and Equity Committee, Health and Safety Committee, and Strategic Engagement and Planning Committee. Mrs. Bowers is a parent of 2 Cincinnati public school graduates. They resolved that they recommend and nominate Pamela to serve as a representative to the Cincinnati Preschool Promise Board of Managers. And Pamela will serve effective the June meeting through the September annual meeting. And I'd just like to say a few other things. I've had the privilege and honor of knowing and working with Pamela for about 30 years. Pamela is an accomplished social worker, parent, advocate, and she is just a great all-around person. She is currently, she provides outpatient behavioral counseling through Central Clinic, and in addition, she's a private practitioner. She has a good sense of humor. She's very thoughtful. She's very bright. And if I say she's bright, she's bright. She does her homework. That's a high bar. And she will be an amazing addition to the preschool promise board. So I would like to put forward the nomination of Pamela Bowers to the Cincinnati Preschool Promise Board effective June 1st.
Is there a second? Seconded by Laura. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Welcome, Pamela. We're excited to have you join us. And Pamela, while we are so excited for you to join, I've been dreading this moment for a few months now, and that is this is Christine's last meeting with us, and wanted to express our appreciation for all the work that you've done. And when you joined the board, there was an immediate noticeable impact of the smart questions you had, the help on budget and finance, the strategic thinking, and we really benefited from it greatly. So I wanted to tell you thank you. Christine's family is going to be moving for a great opportunity for them, and it'll be a great opportunity for that community to gain your family, but certainly we'll miss you. So I wanted to tell you how much we appreciate your time here and your service. We put together a little gift for you. I will tell you, it is one of the heaviest things I have ever seen. Let me see if I can get it out. Okay, so it is a picture of our board in glass with the logo on so that you don't forget us. But just wanted to thank you again and give everyone, if everyone could give a round of applause for all of your work. As we've had some of the really incredible instrumental board members go off of our board for various reasons, and as we'll start to have folks who have been instrumental start to term out as well, it got me thinking kind of along the journey of how we've really just had such a great team over the years and such a great collective contribution, and also that I feel like some of the new faces around the table in the room that we're really adding some folks who will continue that move forward and help us continue to move into the next phase of what we need to do. So, Pamela, we're grateful for you to be joining us and to be part of that effort as well. Deb, is there anything else from the governance committee report?
Not at this time, but we will be sending out letters the 1st of June to the nominating organizations to replace the board members who are being termed, and that's Bishop Tate and myself. We are among the originals, and we are goats. Don't ever forget that. And so we will have 5 positions. I think that we will get back to you as those letters go out and we receive comments from the nominating organizations.
Any questions for Deb on the governance committee? All right, next we move to cost and quality. Christy's going to be doing that report.
Sure, that's me. I've been to 2 meetings and now I'm giving the report out of what I understand. It's a complicated matter, so I'm going to lean on Shara a little bit here. So the last several meetings and several meetings prior to me joining the committee have been focused on what is the true cost of quality for a preschool student. And we spent the last several meetings looking at research, including RAND, including Center for American Progress. We had numbers that folks from the committee and staff had helped pull together, and really looking at a range of what might be the true cost of quality. It's complicated. You have in your packet on agenda item number 4 a bit of a summary. You can see here that even the range that we have is between 13,000 and 15,000 currently. I believe this is maybe our average is around 10,000, 9,948. So we do have a gap. We've known that we've had a gap. And one of the ways that we tried to look at this was eventually to say, how did we come up with the cost of quality to begin with when we started Preschool Promise? And that was based on some work done by RAND. And that number is on agenda item number 4 at the top of the page, CPP year 1. This is all right, correct? Okay. So
being child care providers who were never compensated and never had benefits, to Councilwoman Keating talking about how she wouldn't be able to hold her position if she didn't have qualified teachers in a child care center that she loved that took good care of her children. So it was really kind of a moving event, and it was unusual, as they said, to have every council member and the mayor, whose children are lit, a CPP provider, and the city manager all comment on how important early childhood education is, and to share their appreciation for the work that's done every day. So it was a great day. So the other thing I also wanted to share is we We all need to get to take our victory lap on this. If you see the snapshot of enrollment of where we are today, just to highlight for you all that we have had a banner year when we look at it, and we have actually touched 1,345 families with the Cincinnati Preschool Promise that we've received applications for that result in, as of May 19th, 916 families that we have enrolled. And so I just would like to give a big round of applause to our outreach and enrollment leader, Ms. Florence Malone-Crump, for this year and doing that. Really, really incredible work. But that being said, we're not taking a deep breath and we're not stopping, because it is now re-enrollment time as well as final enrollment for our extended learning session. And so all of you will very soon be receiving your Cincinnati Preschool Promise golf shirts, and what come with that are some Ask Me About Preschool Promise cards with QR codes so that you can actively get involved in the enrollment process ongoing. Anybody ever has any questions, send them to our website, send them to any member of our team during heightened enrollment season. We are all ready and equipped to answer questions and make sure that children have the opportunity and we can move forward with that enrollment. Okay, and now we are to our dashboard. As you can see, compared to our last meeting, we have one more in the green. We've been knocking it out of the park on our parent education opportunities. That was yellow. At our last meeting, it is now solidly green, where we've had 61 different opportunities, where we've done web posts, we've connected people to events, we've had sessions to really reach out and offer parents resources that they may need as part of that parental education work, as well as sending out some postcards and preschool chats and other touches with them as well. The one area where we continue to remain yellow is our early childhood education staff supported. That is an ongoing reflection of the challenge and the crisis in ECE workforce. I don't anticipate that that yellow will go green before the end of the year. You can also see we have 3 new TA sites that have resulted in 53 new high-quality seats capacity that may be available in the market, and also to highlight the ongoing risk that we see is staffing shortages, family fatigue, and ongoing getting families to participate in Preschool Promise and the work that we do, and also provider fatigue at lost revenue, at the economic challenges that they face, and also what we're seeing is that some providers are losing or shifting in their star ratings. They have new staff, they have additional challenges, but this is something that we predicted to happen, that we know that we're trying to strategically address, but more and more of our providers are in many cases losing stars and points on that system because of staffing and other reasons. For everyone that loses a star, we do have an opportunity and have left the window open for them, that we will partner with them and our coaching team to build a strategic plan on how they can regain those stars and what they need to do. But at the end of the day, if those are based on staffing challenges, new staff, and what that is, there is very little that we can do to coach through that, right? It is a staffing concern. So that is what we see ongoing, and so we feel pretty good about it. We're 6 in the green. Okay.
Any questions for Shara?
Real quickly, Mr. Chair, as you show the top 5 enrollment, I forgot to use this, top 5 enrollment in the neighborhoods, how can we better support some of those centers in our respective neighborhoods?
I think it is connecting us to people that are also connected to families. And the best example I can get is Terry England's forwarded to us a contact from Evanston Community Council who wanted us to do something as simple as put a $100 ad in their e-newsletter. So we put a promotion in there, just one of our squares that said, this is how you enroll. It was a good $100 investment over a few weeks, maybe a max of $1,000 investment, where we were able to reach 1,300 people with each circulation of that newsletter. So if there are contacts that you have in places that you know in your community that are directly in contact with families and parents, just let us know that. Because we have an outreach team ready to go. There are creative ways that we can do it. And we're also, if you know providers that may say, we just need a path. We're not sure if we want to be Preschool Promise or not. We're always willing to have these conversations so that we do outreach. Our best advertising, what pays off for us the most, is word of mouth. And so we're more than happy to be present in your community and equip those who are stakeholders and leaders in your community to talk about preschool policies.
I have a question following on that. The top 5 enrollment neighborhoods, how does that translate into providers? Are we talking about multiple providers? Or are we talking about?
Definitely multiple providers. What we can do is we can break that down for you and send you the update so that we know, we can break it down for family child care providers and centers and what it may look like for each of those neighborhoods. How many is there? We're happy to do that because we get that in a regular report. It'll just take us a few days to compile it and send it out.
Thank you.
Also to alert people that we will also have a fully loaded meeting in June as well. As you know, we will have contract renewals for most of our major contracts, including our coaching contract, our external evaluation, and we hope a conclusion to our program eligibility and services contract as well. That's coming up for the June meeting. Innovations will also be joining us to share their data that they have compiled after the last few years in the new census information where we still have quality gap neighborhoods, as well as an update on data collection they've done in partnership with CPS. And I thank you, Vera, that we've been requesting related to special education services. So we hope that they will be here with that presentation.
Any other questions before we move to committee reports? All right. I think I'm first on committee reports. The executive committee met, I guess it was now about 2 weeks ago. Much of our meeting focused on Tony walking us through the budget that the Finance and Audit Committee had put together that we'll be bringing up for approval later this evening, and also kind of talking about what happened the week in between that meeting and this meeting, so last week, which was Shara Hector and I went to the CPS Budget and Finance Committee meeting and presented our, still at the time, draft budget, and also to talk a little bit more about the master agreement discussions. I'll punt on the budget stuff until we get to Tony's report, but as far as our presentation to CPS last week, I'll lead by saying I think everyone would have been incredibly proud of the presentation that Shara and Hector put together. Literally every question Hector was able to cite to a specific bar graph or a pie chart in his presentation very quickly. And Shara had some great discussions too about our future and our vision and where we're going. I think generally speaking, the committee found it to be well received. A highlight of it actually is that we're asking for actually a little bit less money than we asked for the year before. We walked through some of the things that are different and also kind of took some questions on why and our rationale, and that they were very well thought out and deliberate decisions we had made into putting together our budget in the way to be most effective to impact the lives of the most children in town. And then the other discussion kind of centered on the master agreement and how we were still awaiting responses to the draft we had sent over quite a while ago. It was committed to us we would be getting one imminently, and that it had already kind of gone through review, and that many of the things we proposed they agreed with, a couple they didn't, and there were some new things too, which is I think pretty standard, very similar to how it was last time we went through this. It's my expectation that their legal counsel, Dan, will be sending that draft to our legal counsel, Jake, in the not too distant future. And Ben Lindy and I have had a couple follow-ups since then of kind of to the extent we then have some work to do in figuring out who's the right team from CPS and from CPP to get that over the finish line. Our group hasn't really convened in a little while, but we do have a special board subcommittee on master agreement discussions and thought, and that will be the group we primarily rely on from our team on working on that and getting that forward. But I do expect after quite a bit of not movement that we are going to have some movement on that relatively shortly here. Any questions on any of that?
Like, is it the school year?
I'm not going to commit to a date because it's certainly to those there to feel like imminent was when we should expect something was what was generally said.
Yes, that was what was said.
There, yeah. But beyond that, and we've got our legal counsel Jake up on it, and he's going to follow up with Dan too, as he has been for the last quite a while. All right, so we'll move to the governance committee report next. That's Deb.
Okay, on behalf of the governance committee, I'd like to present to you today Pamela Bowers. Stand up, Pamela. Don't be like this is Pamela Bowers, and on February 27, 2023, the Cincinnati Public's Board of Education passed a resolution, whereas Pamela Bowers is the Director of School-Based Mental Health Services for the Central Clinic, where she provides outpatient mental health therapy and early intervention substance abuse counseling. Pamela was appointed to the Board of Education.
I thought it was, get going.
We got enough, it looks like. So we'll call the meeting to order, and Marcia, if you'll please take the roll.
Deborah Alsop. Here. Let's see, Nikita Anderson is absent. Berlene Dobson. Let's see, Terry's absent. Christine Fisher. Here. Marcia Butel is here. Tony Hobson.
Here.
Oh, there. Michelle Hopkins. Micah.
I'm here.
Ross Meyer.
Here.
Welcome, Ross. It's the first meeting.
Thank you.
Christy Phillips. Here. Laura Sandridge. Yes. Here. And Bishop Tate.
Present.
Sally is an absent. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a quorum.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Thanks for being here, everyone. Everyone's had the minutes sent out from them from the March 28th meeting. Are there any suggested revisions to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Motion by Laura, second by Bishop Tate. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, minutes are approved. Next, we'll move to Shara's Executive Director's report.
Hello, good to see everyone. Just want to bring your attention to ongoing public policy priorities. As you know, the budget for early childhood education, state of Ohio's budget has moved through the House and now is in the Senate, preparing for June conference committee work. We are very strong partners and continue to be with Groundwork Ohio. You will receive updates that kind of highlight what the budget concerns are and priority, and really focused on making sure that there are ongoing investments in expanding early childhood education and investments in the workforce, specifically in preschool and those early childhood education grants. I know that we had a couple of board members ask that we highlight ways that you all can be more involved in the public policy process. And that is by signing up for those weekly emails, signing on to letters. If anyone feels very passionate about offering oral or written testimony about their experience in early childhood education, as well as the Family Action Network that mobilizes quarterly through Groundwork Ohio, there are all those opportunities available for you on the Groundwork site. We will also be sending you out an email to ask if you would like to receive, directly forwarded from us, those weekly updates that Groundwork Ohio does. We frequently include them in the Board of Managers update, but it's very easy for us to send those to you so that you stay aware of what's going on. They are one of the strongest coalitions of partners in that work, and you will see the full letter on public policy. Welcome. The full letter that we signed on to, along with 144 other organizations. That is an open letter on the importance of the early childhood education. So take a deep breath and see if anybody has comments, questions on that.
I have a question on childcare capacity. Oh, sorry. I have a question on childcare capacity, an investment of $150 million, is that statewide?
That is statewide for people that are in what was termed during the pandemic essential workplaces, and among those are educators in the early childhood education workforce that could be eligible to receive those grants and that subsidy for childcare.
How will that impact CPP?
In most cases, it will not, because it is for that 0 to 5 childcare space, not specifically for preschool. So it may offer us some relief in that parents that have younger children who are currently, we're trying to recruit for the workforce, will have a source to pay for their childcare.
Thank you.
Our next topic is kind of an update on our partnerships and collaborations. We sent out to you an impact report for our one-year partnership with Beach Acres Parenting Center, as you know, where we did the Parent Connect as well as the Character Effect, so that we provided support for our providers and teachers, as well as direct mental health, social, emotional learning support for our parents as well. We did meet all of our deliverables of the number of parents served and engaged in that process that you will see on the impact report. But we've decided going forward that our partnership with Beach Acres will be us leveraging the services that they already provide for parent and outreach, continue to do outreach for that, and that they will be designing 5 sessions for the upcoming year on professional development that are really focused and designed for our Teacher Promise Grant and staff support funding. We've had an ongoing challenge of attendance at PD sessions, a couple that have been rescheduled, and so rather than continue to do the targeted investment in that way, we're going to leverage the things that Beach Acres already does to have an ongoing relationship with them. Also wanted to bring your attention to our partnership with 4C for Children, and that they will be doing an environmental scan for the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services on a shared service pilot. We know that that is a big new initiated project. They did an RFP for that. 4C was awarded that for our region. They've very kindly given us the opportunity to offer some comment as they start to do that regional assessment on what are the potentials to do shared service for child care centers, early child care providers. So we'll just keep you up to date on that. We didn't want you to hear about it kind of out in the community and what's going on and not know that we're involved and engaged in that ongoing data collection and assessment project. You will also see that we sent out in the pre-reads, hot off the press, 11 o'clock yesterday morning, that the city of Cincinnati has approached us about potentially being a partner in their new pilot program for the Children's Savings Account pilot, which is Cincinnati Saves. The continuity that this has with what we do is that we have a shared community in that they are really looking to support parents that are income challenged at 200 and 300% FPL. That matches up very well with those that we serve with preschool promise tuition assistance, where the city would make an initial investment in a long-term savings account that can be used for educational purposes, and also work with the families to make those contributions as well. So we would, the city has approached us as exploring other potential partners to do this on a contract basis, so that no public funds or levy funds would be invested at all in this project. The goal is really to make sure that we're trying to maximize, and they have some learnings from us based on what we know about recruitment, application process, and as many states and localities have done, giving parents the opportunity to opt out rather than to opt in. So the way that this would work is every parent that is part of our tuition assistance initiative that sends us an application that has signed a release to share their information would also be enrolled and have an investment from the city to initially start that savings account for them. So there are many details that we know need to be worked out, and we hope that it will be in the city's upcoming budget, but wanted to get some input from the board of what you think about the idea, more details that you would like to know as they continue to develop it. The one-pager is kind of the high level they have right now as they move it through the city's process to include it in their budget.
Any comments or questions on that?
My question is, if we think it's a good idea, where would the money come from?
100% from the city. So the pilot project for the first 2 years, we've also given them a line item money of what it would cost for a team member to be housed with us as the operational partner. And that would be 100% paid by them for the overhead and the salary for that person. And so that is incorporated into their budget proposal that you'll see in the
Any other questions or comments? I'll share that Shara and I have discussed this a couple times. My general view has been it's worth exploring and taking a look at and see if it's something that we want to do or not. So kind of green-lighted the exploration phase on my end from our discussions. I don't think it ever hurts to look at opportunities and see if they'd be good or not, but if anyone feels otherwise and wants to chat about those offline, I'm happy to chat about those too.
We also had a surprise this Sunday in that Princeton High School senior class who had volunteered and donated some things for us through an amazing book drive, also decided as their senior class project they would make a contribution to the Cincinnati Preschool Promise, and did that on Sunday to the amount of almost, how much? Yeah, really significant contribution where they asked everybody in the audience. It's a,
I didn't just roughly say. Sorry, Princeton High School Bachelorette, sorry. Princeton High School senior class for their baccalaureate service gave a donation to Cincinnati Preschool Promise.
the amount.
It was a couple $100. I saw received the final total, but we were really excited and surprised while I was sitting there that they did it in honor of our organization.
And so that was the amount that was collected on day on site. They still have some coming in and wanted to collect it and give it the final total, but we thought that was very generous with them being inspired by the work that we've done and also interning to work on our Promise Reader project. So it was very nice, and we wanted to recognize them, so you'll see some Facebook posts with us saying thank you and hoping that other high schools will follow suit and make additional gifts. So what you'll also see is a picture of a very exciting day that happened last week, which was Councilwoman Liz Keating put together a proclamation to recognize Provider Appreciation Day, and that is the picture of all of us at the Capitol. And thank you to 4C for having an awesome photographer who documented the experience for us and sharing that. And you will see a collection of family child care providers and centers who joined us for that recognition. And one of the things that was most moving is that every single city council member commented on how important early childhood education was for them and their growth and development and their families and their experience. Anyone from Councilmember Harris having both his mother and his grandmother.
Recording because the timer's going down and there's the big record.
Is that the camera we used to use for weddings? Because I don't remember it having a timer like that.
Yeah, but I also hid the timer because I was doing other things. So.
So it's recording right now.
Mm-hmm.
Received at CPS. There wasn't any type of vote on approval or not approval. There was a request for a little more information on how we got to the 10% figure we pledged to provide to them. What I conveyed was that these are all in line with what we've been saying we want to do with the master agreement for the last 14 months, and certainly nothing's been done in secret. Jen joins your meetings and Vera joins our meetings, and we were going to kind of move forward with our budget as we planned, and if there's a need to adjust later, we will.
I will say at Finance Committee, we did have that conversation that the budget does not necessarily supersede the master agreement, that it would allow for the spending should the master agreement be approved. And I think that is an important distinction, that the budget doesn't necessarily set policy.
That's absolutely right.
Yes, we budget with optimism.
Ben Wendy said to me, certainly 14 months is a lot of notice for something, so we did have that discussion. Any other questions for Tony? Is there a motion to approve the budget?
I move to approve the budget as presented.
Christine, any seconds? Second by Ross. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? All right, the budget is approved. Thank you to our Finance and Audit Committee, and Tony, I know that's a big lift, and also to all the staff, and Hector played a huge role in getting that together. Very exciting, so thank you for that.
The second half of your sentence was much more accurate than the first half.
The last substantive thing for approval on the agenda is to put Ross and Pamela onto committees for our board. Each is the last item in your agenda. It's Pamela will be joining the Communications Committee and Ross will be joining the Finance and Audit Committee. It's where both of them expressed interest and wanted to be, and we think they'd be great additions there. So I'll ask for approval. Is there a motion to approve those committee assignments?
So moved.
Tony, is there a second? Bishop Tate. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Congratulations. You're both on committees now. Observers' comments. Vera, I think you may be the only one here today. Do you have any comments you'd like to add?
I'm always the only one.
Well, we appreciate it.
I first want to thank Christine. It's been a joy and a pleasure working with you in multiple areas, and I wish you and your family the very, very best. Thank you for everything you've contributed to our city of Cincinnati. You will be missed and you are loved. And then just in a quick update, our board did meet last night, and board member Bolton did bring up in the final comments about the MOU. Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget this. Okay. In our Cincinnati Public's board meeting last night, in the very end, board member Bolton did bring up the MOU, and they are moving forward, that you should hear from Dan soon with the red line copy for you all to then review and send anything you wish back to us. And hopefully they're feeling the urgency to get it completed, because Marcia, we only have 3 days of school left. So we do want to get this moving so we can start August on a new beginning and really get things moving forward. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, appreciate it. Last, before we adjourn, I just wanted to kind of reflecting as we are at the end of the school year, as you said, 3 days left for my kids too. It's not lost on me as we get to the end of the school year that thousands of children and their parents and their families and educators have been impacted by the work that we do here in this organization. And I wanted to ask everyone on the staff if they could stand, please. Not all of our board has had the chance to meet everyone on staff, as we've had some new folks, but on behalf of the board, I just wanted to convey our appreciation for all of the work that you have done to impact the preschoolers this year in the city and our community. And with the excitement of a budget approved and getting ready for next year, the anticipation of the new set of children and their families that will continue to have their education be stronger because of the work that you do for us every day. So if everyone could join me in a round of applause, just to recognize you all. All right, we've made it through our agenda, and we made it through in an hour. Nice work, Al. Laura's motion to adjourn, is there a second? Second. Bishop Tate, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Quality improvement, roughly at where we think we'll end up this year. You'll see cost of quality again at the same level. You know, we have had a contingency, and we continue to maintain a contingency, but so far we haven't spent it. So you'll see a $250,000 budget forecast, and it makes it look like there's $1 million difference on the programs. It's really more like 750, and it's really more like the tuition assistance number when you boil it all down. We've had some price increases in the administrative side of things, but you'll see the big number there, staff related, an increase of $410,000. That's where we really are expecting budgeting to reach full employment. This has, again, some key changes listed below, and that gives you a little more detail. And like I said, we've sent this out, so everybody's had a chance to look at this. I'm happy to go through those details. Let's look at one more slide after this for a comparison of budget to budget. And you can see that we are actually reducing our budget from what we budgeted in 23. If you think to the next step, that simply means we are underspending in 23 and significantly. So some of the aspirations consideration for our '24 budget is to actually get this money out the door. I'd be curious how our friends at Cincinnati Public School reacted to this. I'm hoping they smiled and slammed the gavel down and said approved. There is another and an important slide to follow, and I don't know if we want to talk about the life cycle model now or ask questions now, right now. Let's stop here and ask questions on the proposed budget.
Any questions for Tony?
Quickly, hearing none.
I might have some. Hold on.
I have a question, Tony. Where is our greatest exposure in 2024 for underspending?
For underspending,
Yes, underspending the budget.
I would say our greatest exposure would be in full employment, and I cringe at the thought of enrollment. I'm hoping it's not enrollment. That's our biggest line item, so I suppose that presents the biggest opening. The contingency, which we've been carrying at 500,000 over the last couple of years, we whacked that down to 250 because we've never spent it. So I guess that could be another fertile place for underspend, is that we don't need the contingency.
Chair, I
Go
have
ahead.
one question. So quality improvement, yeah, that's going down. I was just wondering why that's decreasing, kind of just big picture.
I think it's was it the outdoor spending, supply issues getting solved after? I'm looking to you.
It was a couple of factors together. The outdoor spending actually increased, right, because the supply chain issues were removed. But the program manager is taking a different approach in this year, now that she has more staff and is better able to dig into the programs and what's really effective versus just going with a flow that we've been able to keep the programs up. So you'd be surprised how different the budgeting process was, how much more granular about these particular programs in the family child care area, these type A, these type Bs, these centers, how many am I gonna be able to really affect? So it is just a much more, I think, accurate number than an average that we were using before.
And that difference you're looking at there, Chrissy, is budget. Actual, what we forecast to actually spend in QI is flat to this budget.
I think the other thing that we know is forthcoming is the analysis of where the quality gap neighborhoods are, to focus and prioritize is that where our investments are. But I also want to acknowledge that part of our QI work has been supplemented through the ARPA period, so that there are some providers in the system that normally we would have had to make an investment in, that because dollars were from other places to help new providers get started, to help organizations like 4C coach them and get done to the tune of almost, 20 providers that are in our footprint, that normally there would not have been the resources to do that. ARPA funds and other funding they secured allowed that progress to continue. So it looks like that for this year. Again, I don't want to know if that will continue at that level. But, we did have a couple of years where there were state distributions of things like TSA Gold, right? Which we know was a big chunk that we didn't have to do. So as we get smarter, as we do this and other resources, we've gained some efficiencies and really learned how to leverage the resources that are in the system.
Right, that makes a lot of sense, and I just was curious. I know it's just a very important piece of work, so being efficient